There's something about being human that draws us into stories. Netflix, Hulu, or HBO, these are our storytelling engines. For a while, we had live television, and before that, radio, before that, books and magazines and newspapers, and long before that, we had something called oral tradition. People would gather and they told stories from memory, stories passed down through families and communities. We still know some of these old stories. They show up in children's books and in churches, in epic films and fairy tales. It is part of being human to love stories. The Harry Potter series have sold over 500 million copies. They're still making Star Wars and Lord of the Rings content. The Marvel Cinematic Universe series is the highest grossing film franchise worldwide with a total box office revenue of over $26 billion. And the whole world seemed to stop for the Game of Thrones premieres. Why are we so captivated by these stories? Maybe because compared to our real lives, these stories are much more exciting, much more interesting. The formula for adult living looks pretty much like showing up to the same job day after day, grocery shopping for the same food week after week, paying the same bills month after month, and pretty much sleeping or binging in between. And there's something about these stories that promises a break in that cycle. The world is ending, so stop what you're doing and be the hero that must save us all. Or you catch the eye of a mysterious and handsome stranger and suddenly you're caught up in this whirlwind romance that transforms the humdrum of your usual life. A cloaked and wizened old man knocks on your door to tell you everything you think about the world is a lie and you are needed in a strange and magical realm. We're dying for someone or something to barge into our lives and set us up on a path of adventure, aren't we? Aren't we all wishing that we were born into a great and significant story that explains our past and shows us the way to a fulfilling future where we're going to find our purpose? We want what these stories promise to give us. We might not be fully conscious of this. Remember, as human beings, there are things that we just default to. We've all already heard that David Foster Wallace tells us it's in our nature to have a priority one, something our whole life revolves around, the one non-negotiable that all else falls second to. And he claims that choosing is not an option. If we don't choose, something will inevitably fill the spot that we've left void. And here's how Wallace explains the way that we come into our priority one. He tells the story of two young fish swimming along, and they pass an old, wise fish who greets them and says, "Hello, boys, how's the water?" And the young fish smile and nod, or whatever it is fish do to humor their elders. And a few moments pass, and they look at each other, and one says, "What the hell is water?" It's a silly story, surely, but it's one that can give us some useful insight into our human existence. So let's give the story a chance to teach us something. What makes the story work? Well, obviously, we know all of the fish are swimming in water. That's what fish do. One of the things that make fish fish is that they swim in water or they'll die. But what's interesting here is that only the old fish, described to us as wise, seems to understand this truth about a fish's nature. He knows the water is there, despite not being able to see it. While not actively swimming in the water is literally touching every part of their little fish bodies, yet the young fish are oblivious to its existence. "What's water?" they ask, and we chuckle because we can so clearly see that the water is all around them. How ridiculous to be swimming and not know what water is. Well, according to Wallace, unless we've taken intentional steps otherwise, we'll be like these fish, completely unaware of what sustains us and what will destroy us. And he claims that we are, in a sense, swimming in water too. And like these fish, the water is too close to be seen without effort and hard-fought wisdom. Admittedly, the analogy isn't perfect, as the life of humans is certainly more complex than that of fish. But if you'll accept the limits of the story, what is the human equivalent of water? It's our inability to opt out of choosing a priority one. It is our inability to live outside of a story. Just like it is in the nature of a fish to swim in water, it is in the nature of a human being to live for the sake of one ultimate goal, to live in a story that is speeding towards its fateful ending. And if we don't consciously decide which story we're going to follow, as in do our best to make it the story of our lives, then we will unconsciously start to follow one of the ones that the world around us promotes. The stories of perfectionism, achievement, consumerism, soulmates, and belonging. What are these stories? Well, the story of perfectionism has a core message, and that core message is that if you can just get it right, it will all come together. There is a tremendous need to be competent, to prove that you've got your act together. And there's this pushing, proving, and an overworking, all of which you'll find in the story of achievement too, but there's a different interior spin on it. And it impacts every area of life, career, body image, relationships. And you're promised that when you get it right, then you'll know you matter. You'll be safe. You'll be enough. Then there's the story of achievement, and the core message of that story is that you are what you accomplish. True fulfillment, a sense of worth, and a sense of self will all be found when A, B, or C is accomplished and is achieved. And if you achieve, you'll be someone special. You might bruise some people along the way with your fragmented, anxious presence, but in the end, the height you will have gotten to will make it all worth it. Then there's the story of consumerism, where you are what you have, and the good life comes with a price tag. We become convinced that we will truly be happy when we finally have the vacation, the better car, the bigger house, the right clothes. All sorts of things are promised to us as we go shopping, things like fulfillment, joy, significance, and status. Then there's the story of the soulmate, and with this story, a person believes that their fulfillment and their happiness is tied up in finding the right person. And it begins with loneliness, an experience that all people have, and the desire to both love and be loved. The story of the soulmate promises that when you find the one, everything else in life will come together and that hole will be filled. With the story of belonging, there's similarity to the story of the soulmate. But the craving goes beyond desiring deep connection with one person, and it's wanting to be a part of a clan, a member of something greater than you alone, or you plus one. It's a longing for there to be a safety net of people who will catch you when you fall, receive you at your worst, meet you where you are, and always open the door to welcome you home. In each of these stories, we're being promised something. We're promised that once we get the guy, the promotion, the house, the family, we'll be happy. We'll know who we are and our hearts will finally settle. We'll achieve our purpose. We'll be satisfied. And to be fair, these are good things. They correspond to desires that run deep within the human heart. The desire to rise to the challenge of the life you've been given. The desire to do good work that uses your skills and talents. Desire to have the material things that make life doable. The desire to love intimately and exclusively. The desire to live out your life not just alone, but together. Of course, it's good to have success, financial stability, a good reputation, true love, and good friends. But are these goals big enough to rest your whole life on? Can they carry the weight of all your hopes for happiness? In the previous videos, I took you through these 5 stories to their conclusion. Unfulfilled desires, loneliness, depression, anxiety, dread, and fear. The world offers us stories with empty promises, and film offers us stories that are so fantastical that we cannot enter into them. What can we do? Where can we find a better story?